welcome to On the Air presented by AIRWAAV. I'm your host, Sydney Smith, and I'm here with Tom Miazga, who is an adaptive CrossFit athlete. He is 7-time fittest seated on earth CrossFit champion. He holds 35 national titles and 13 international titles in swimming. He was a member of the U.S. Paralympic swim team in Beijing, China in 2008. He has already accomplished so much, and his story is truly inspiring, so it's something you will not want to miss. What's upcoming for you?
Yeah, so we actually just finished the adaptive semifinals about 2 weeks ago, beginning of May, which went really well. So it was an online format for us. So it was 4 workouts across the weekend, Thursday to Monday, to complete all of them. So plenty of time, a couple of redos as you need to in there. And then that went really well. Really happy with how I performed there. And now we're in a training cycle. We're just in a big 3-month holding pattern until we have the Adaptive CrossFit Games down in San Antonio in the middle of September. So very excited about that. This is definitely going to be the biggest venue and spectacle that we've ever seen for the Adaptive CrossFit series. I know, it's going to be really cool. So I'm very, very excited, very eager to be a part of it. And it's turning out to be something pretty cool. I mean, I think if you've been around the adaptive scene for a while now, you've kind of seen how it's grown. And to think that we're already at a point where we have our own games and we're, at a high level venue and we have all the sponsors we need in order to make this run as smoothly as we have always envisioned it to. I think it's really cool. And, props to Kevin Ogar and Chris Stoutenberg and the lead of WheelWAD that, they've done a remarkable job and have been persistent and always put our needs first. And, we can't thank them enough for all they've done.
Yeah. And you've been in the sport for a while too. So I bet it's cool to see where it was at in the beginning. Especially I know the divisions that aren't even the main division, even with the teen division masters, there is not as much press on that. And I feel like that would be hard too, because it's not like y'all are putting any less work in or anything. So it's cool to see that y'all are able to have your own venue, more press, and even more participants earlier on in the season as well, hopefully.
Yeah, it's definitely been we've seen the grassroots grow exponentially. And, the fact that we're bringing 10 from every division to the games is really cool. In the past few years, it's been maybe 5 or 6 at most. So even that becomes more competitive. It makes every, event even more crucial to perform well and be at your best. So I think it's going to be a really cool time. And I'm really excited to be a part of it.
You cut out there at the very end.
Sorry. Oh, no. Yeah. I'm just saying I'm very excited to be a part of it for sure. So,
yeah,
it's going to be great.
How do you feel about San Antonio? San Antonio is hot. Are they going to have it all indoor or?
So far, what I've heard, it's mostly going to be indoor. We have a large arena, I think, that we're working in. So that's going to give us plenty of space and the atmosphere to spread out as we need to. I haven't heard much detail yet, which is probably a good thing. I like to train for the unknown and unknowable, of course. But, my only guess is that if, with how hot and humid it may be at that point in September, we might swim outside, but I wouldn't see us doing a lot of other things outside. Not to say I wouldn't prepare for it. Even in Milwaukee up here, we get some pretty hot and humid summers. So, mid-July, it's going to be pretty toasty. So I'd like to believe that, it's going to kind of get me ready for the atmosphere a little bit more, help me prepare for it better. But, I'm glad I have my AIRWAAV. I will have to plug it in there. I'm glad I have my AIRWAAV to keep me going on those kind of things. Because when it gets hot and heavy, it's definitely helping my breathing for sure.
Yeah. So speaking of swimming, I know you have a big background in swimming with some major accomplishments, such as being a member of the Paralympic swim team in Beijing in 2008. So Can you kind of take me through that journey and even getting started in swimming in general?
Yeah. So I started swimming when I was in 2nd grade.
Wow.
I have 3 older siblings, all of which have been very active and always played sports in middle school and high school. And so it was always in my nature to want to follow them and do the same things they were doing. And, I was born with cerebral palsy. I use a wheelchair as my primary source of transportation. And, I can walk, but it's awfully difficult. So it's, just easier for me to get around in the chair. And as I tried to play sports that my brother did, like baseball and soccer and football, I just knew it wasn't going to be the thing for me. I couldn't keep up as well. And though I loved it, and I'm a huge baseball nerd, I love baseball. I can't keep up the same way that I think I would expect myself to play it successfully. Mm-hmm. And so, I was very fortunate that my second grade teacher, his name is Steve. Steve was just starting the local swim club, Ozaki Aquatics, that I swam for when I was in his class. And so he very quickly took me under his wing, kind of showed me the ropes around the pool. We already built a pretty great rapport in the classroom with each other. And he was somebody I trusted from the very get-go. And I really looked to him for advice and just even as a young second grader, like he was somebody that helped me understand a lot about myself that I wasn't ready to know yet or didn't realize I needed to know, and that my wheelchair wasn't the definition of my personality, and that who I was more defined by my actions and how I treat other people rather than what people see of me. And he taught me that from a young age, which was really cool. And so when he invited me to the swim team, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of this guy. I think it'd be really cool to see what else he does. And I immediately fell in love with the water. It was the one place where I felt like my disability was, I wouldn't say eradicated, but pretty close to almost non-existent. It was a thing where like the weightlessness of the water allowed my legs to float easier on the surface. I could get forward with my stronger upper body from the wheelchair a lot quicker. And I was actually keeping up with a lot of kids in the pool. And it was the first time where I found a sport where I'm like, hey, I'm actually relatively competitive to the people I'm working against.
Yeah.
And that love for the sport just continued to grow and grow. So I actually swam through fourth grade before I had to have one more surgery. In that process, I had to take in a whole entire summer of rehabilitation, and I had to learn to walk again and all these different things. So it was a long time away from the water, but I actually progressed so well after that surgery. I was able to gain a lot of gait and mobility in my lower half and actually played baseball that summer. So it wasn't, again, but it was a much more of an enjoyable experience than I had in the past, but it wasn't going to be something I knew I was going to do for a long term. Right. And, so I went to high school then, and our elementary school went through fifth grade. So even after second grade, I was around Steve for a couple more years, and we still chatted here and there and stuff. And even when I was on the swim team, but when I went to middle school, our relationship kind of stopped because I was playing baseball. I wasn't at his school anymore. And I wouldn't say we had a falling apart. We just grew distant because of the nature of the situation. As most teachers aren't rekindling their relationships with the kids they've already had in their class. Right. So, I was at the high school when I got to freshman year of high school. I was at our high school Saturday morning, I think, setting up for our homecoming dance. I was part of student council or something like that. And as I was setting up, I happened to wheel past the pool. And of course, there's Steve coaching practice in the morning. And we made this weird eye contact, kind of like, I haven't seen you in like 3 years. What the heck is going on? Why aren't you in the pool kind of vibe? And so I of course, had to stop. I had to go in there and say, hey. And 90 minutes later, I came out and I went home and I'm like, hey, Mom, I think I'm back on the swim team. Like, I'm not sure, but I think I am. And so I ended up going out for the high school swim team that year and actually got back into swimming, which was really, I think, the best decision I've ever made. What's pretty cool and a fun story about it is that one night Steve was watching the movie Remember the Titans. And in that movie, the star quarterback gets in a car accident and he's paralyzed waist down. Spoiler alert, as the team wins the championship, they come and visit him in the quarterback in his hospital bed. And he's talking about, what are you going to do? How are you going to get through all this and stuff? And he's like, well, I actually found out there's sports for people in wheelchairs. And Steve's at home watching this and thinking like, I wonder if that's real. And he starts to Google it and finds the Paralympic organization. And the next day he comes in with this just novel of documents, just
pitching the idea to you.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Basically telling me all about Paralympic swimming. And he's like, it's one of those coolest moments where, even when I was away from Steve, he still had an impact on my life, and he was somebody that I still, respected highly. And if I'd see it around town, it was always cool to say, hey, but, it was nothing like it was when we were in I was in his class. But when he had told me that, he's like, I had been to every level of swim meet possible. I've been to, national level meets. I've been to Olympic trials, but I have yet to go to the Olympics. And if anybody's going to get there, I want it to be you. And I was like, sobbing, like, okay, yeah, it sounds good, like so motivated and so touched, right? And so, believe it or not, I got back in the water in like the September of 2006, and I finished my high school season in February of 2007, and by September of 2007, I was down in Rio de Janeiro at the Pan Am Games, and I had won 6 medals at my first international meet. Yeah, so it was pretty wild how from there it all took off. Then the next year, being 2008, I was 17 years old. I was just finishing my junior year of high school, and we had obviously qualified for trials, and we wanted to go see what we could do. But they were taking 20 men to Beijing, and we weren't really necessarily sure what my chances were. I was still young, obviously, for the game, and there's a lot of great experienced older athletes in front of me that obviously deserved a spot before I did. So we kind of went with just like, let's just get the experience, let's get the exposure, and then by 2012, like that'll be our year, and
Yeah.
sure enough, I go and rip a best time. I win the 100 backstroke at trials, and I'm on my way to the 2008 Beijing Paralympic Games.
That is so
And
sick.
yeah, it was wild. It was definitely wild. So from that moment on, everything after that was just icing on the cake. I was very fortunate to qualify in the 400-meter freestyle and the 100 backstroke. And I made top 8 in the 400-meter freestyle, so I got to swim at night under the lights for the medals. And
That's
while
so
I finished
cool.
8th, I'm still very proud of it. And it was surreal to say the least. So I think more than anything, the coolest moment was being able to. I actually left for the games about a month ahead of time. We are actually stationed on the Kadena Air Force Base in Okinawa, Japan for our training trip. And we were there for almost 3.5 weeks before we went actually over to Beijing. And that was when I finally got to see my parents, and Steve and my family all came over. And it was just really cool to be able to say, we did it. I met Steve at the top of the water cube looking over the pool, and we got to, embrace for the first time since having not seen each other over in a month, and just kind of communicating via phone and talking about how practices are going, all this stuff on Skype at the time, all the old technology. But, it was really cool to be able to have that moment and say like, hey, we did it. Like you told me 2 years ago that you wanted to get here, and we got here, and it was so surreal. So it was cool to see that circle or that cycle come all the way around and go full circle. And now more than anything, I'm more honored to say that I run Ozaki Aquatics with Steve Keller on a daily basis. And so we run the program together. And yeah, so I'm a CrossFit coach and athlete by day, and I'm a swim coach by day, and morning and night too. So
that is so full circle.
It is. It's been really, really cool.
That is so cool, and like just a crazy experience for you, especially at a young age, and something that you weren't initially thinking that you would be doing, and just having him in your corner encouraging you. And I think sometimes it does take someone outside of yourself to either bring you the idea or just help encourage you along the way to help you get there.
100%. Yeah.
So I think that's super cool that he was there for you in that way.
Yeah. And I love that, because I think that's the message that I kind of live my life on now. And I really resonate with the idea of reciprocity. I'm wholeheartedly sure that I am only where I am because of the people around me and the support I've been given, and people like Steve, who have always told me that your wheelchair and your disability don't have to define who you are or how you do things. You may have to do it a little bit differently, but you can still achieve the same goals as anybody else. And my best way to say thank you is by providing that opportunity to others. So as a swim coach and as a CrossFit coach, and even just being an athlete and posting stuff on social media for individuals like myself to see, and the younger generations to see like, hey, it is possible. Like that's the best way I can say thank you to people like Steve and my parents and my family, and show them like your efforts have not gone wasted. And I hope that like I am who I am because of you. So
yeah. And I think too, with that, you're setting an example. Obviously there's so many people that look up to you in different ways, whether that's in CrossFit, swimming, just as a person. And yeah, using that platform I think is very important and something that everyone really should be doing for the better. So I guess that's cool to see you doing that. And even just with your coaching and stuff as well.
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I love what I do every day. And though it means a 4:05 alarm every morning, it's kind of rough. But at the end of the day, I'm going home pretty happy that I got to do a lot of things that I love. So I can't complain.
In what he was teaching you at a young age of helping you understand that being an adaptive athlete does not define you, being in a wheelchair does not define you. There's like so much more to life than just what you're accomplishing. How did you manage to really believe that and just have a positive mindset? Like obviously there's going to be times where it's not going to be as easy to believe that, but how did you manage to have a positive mindset?
It's a great question. I think there's something inbred within me that I can't explain in half of that, in the sense that like I've always been a very determined person, and I've been competitive my whole life. And I've always wanted to do my best. So I think there's a bit of perfectionist about me that, I want to give my best. And I would actually attribute that some of that's just trying to making sure that people, I think from a young age, I was really focused on ensuring that people didn't see my wheelchair as the person that I was. And I know it doesn't sound like a great thing, because, I was the only person at a young age, though, in my town and in my school system that was in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And, I was getting pulled out of class to go to physical therapy in the middle of the day, and people didn't know why. And sometimes I didn't even know why, And so there were a lot of questions about that stuff. And then, there was a lot of confusion around it. And I think from a young age, I just felt like, hey, I'm still Tom. Don't worry, it's me, And so I always try my best to put my best foot forward in those situations. And I think that unintentionally revolved around everything that I did, whether it was a homework assignment, whether it was a project, it was being a brother, it was a piano lesson, whatever it may have been. Like, I just wanted to do my best all the time. And I think it comes from just my parents never willing to let me say no, and, and persevere through struggle and persevere through hard times and take the time to figure it out and go through the steps of like problem solving and ensuring that I'm doing everything I can before I had to ask for help. Whatever it may be, getting up the stairs to, again, another a tough question on a science sheet, whatever it may have been. It was always those things from a young age that just continually to prove that it worked, and as I got older and older, like, I found the benefits of just putting in my best effort and working hard always seemed to pay off in some regard. Did I always expect it? No, but it always seemed to work out in a way that worked based on what I provided myself the chance to do. So, I mean, it was very easy to be down and negative. Sure. I mean, I had a lot of moments at home where I was really, upset with myself or upset about situations. And, at the end of the day, though, it's like, I have to remember that the only way to go through or to get through it is to go through, right? You can't skip things. You can't avoid things. Like, there are days where it's like, man, I really don't want to walk up those stairs, but I have no choice but to get up those stairs. Like, that's where I need to go, and I don't want to be late. And so you just have to do it. And I don't want to say it was a do or die mentality, but it kind of was those things. It's like either you keep up or you fall behind. And I never was somebody that wanted to fall behind. So whatever it took to keep going, I was willing to do it. And I think that's been a blessing and a curse, but much more of a blessing than a curse.
Yeah. Well, I think too, even just the effort that you put forth is, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry.
Like, okay.
You really can't control anything except for your effort. And
Right.
It's clear that what you're doing is you're putting effort where you can. And like, that's really all you can do. And that's really proved to be successful for you in not only swimming, but CrossFit now too.
Mm-hmm.
So you've really accomplished a lot. Now you are competing in CrossFit. You have been 7-time champion of the Adaptive CrossFit Games.
Yep.
So how did you find CrossFit in general coming from swimming?
Yeah. So ironically, I retired from swimming in the late 2015. So I went to nationals in December of 2015. And at the same time, I was finishing my elementary education degree. And so again, wanted to follow in Steve's footsteps. I wanted to be a teacher because I knew I could go and teach all day and I could go coach after school, and it was the perfect plan, So I was really excited by all of that. And as I was finishing my student teaching semester, of course, 2016 in the fall was going to be the Rio Games. Long story short, this could be a whole other podcast. I missed the 2012 games by 1/100th of a second, and it completely changed my life. It was a dark moment, a very humbling moment, and honestly the best moment of my life at this point, because I know I'm not where I am today if it weren't for that. And I had always planned on 2016 kind of being my redemption song and proving that, both 2008 wasn't a fluke and that 2012 wasn't a fluke either. And so sorry about that.
That's okay.
And so when I went to that last meet in 2015, I was telling myself like, all right, I'm all fired up. This is going to be it. This is like, let's go get it. This is our last meet before trials. And then, the real show happens. And I woke up on the third day of that meet, and I don't know who told me. I don't know what happened, but I just was completely content with my career. And I was like, no, this is it. I'm done. Like, I'm going to hang it up. And I didn't have like family or like any of my home coaches at that meet with me. I had some Team USA coaches there, and I talked with them, but I remember calling my parents and being like, hey, last one, this is going to be it. And they're like, yeah, day 3, good luck, final day. And I'm like, no, like, this is it. I think I'm done. And I think a lot of it revolved around the idea that the pragmatics of where life was heading, changed that decision. So, who's going to hire a first-year teacher that needs to miss the first month of the school year because they're gone at the Paralympic Games? It was kind of an odd situation, and I wasn't about to sacrifice a whole entire another year just to substitute and just kind of get by. Like, I wanted to get into life, and I think that's kind of where the pragmatics took over. And so in that course, I, hung up swimming, and I was swimming, 12 to 14 times a week. I was swimming all the time. It was aggressive. Yes. Yeah. The training was insane. And I went to dead nothing. I went to absolutely, I was only touching water to shower. It wasn't even I wasn't even close to swimming again. And so very quickly I found my body needed something.
It's a crazy adjustment to have to make quickly at that level to absolutely nothing.
Entirely. And so I just found that I had some buddies that were going to our local CrossFit affiliate. And I was like, I need to get my hips moving again. I didn't realize how good swimming was for my mobility and my core and things of that nature. Until I felt myself atrophy a bit, and I was like, whoa, I got to get going. And so when I got to the gym, we were actually, our affiliate was partnered with a local physical therapist and chiropractor massage company just next door. And so I actually started with them first and just kind of got some basic movement down and kind of got used to, thinking about how to work through like the foundations of a squat again and glute bridges and things of that nature. And as that progressed, then I moved over to the CrossFit side. I worked one-on-one with a trainer, and we just worked on, I only went for like therapeutic reasons. I only went to just try and get my hips moving well. I wanted to make sure that I could get around my classroom really easily. I was teaching fourth grade at the time. Sorry. Teaching fourth grade at the time. And so, I had to stay on my toes. Like, those kids are going to fly around me if I blink too fast or too slow. So, when I first got into the gym and I first started working with a trainer, we progressed really quickly. And she was like, hey, like, have you ever heard of the workout Cindy? And I was like, no, what's Cindy? And I did Cindy, and I'm like, hey, I think I like this CrossFit thing. And I just got it was a love story from the beginning. So it was late 2016. And then my intuition of just having experience with the Paralympic organization said, hey, I wonder if there's CrossFit for people in wheelchairs, and I wonder if there's a way for me to get involved in the Open coming up in February and stuff. And sure enough, I found the WheelWOD organization. I started emailing them. I'm like, hey, can I be in the seated division even though I can stand up and I can walk around? Like, is that legal, or is there a place for me? And like, yeah, absolutely. Like, no problem. And so I did the Open in 2017 and have won the games ever since. So I've been very humbled and very honored. And what was really cool about it is that I found myself, I'm a glutton for soreness. I love training. I find that waking up sore the next day or feeling tired from a workout
rewarding a little bit.
Yeah, is your body saying like, hey, we found new lengths and we went to new extents here that we didn't realize that we knew. And so there's that constant potential and that constant progress that was always available that like just kept me wanting more and more. And when I left swimming and found that same vibe and that same fire in CrossFit, I was like, oh, I think we just started something, and it was really cool to see how well it took off. And, now even to be as involved in CrossFit as I am, I'm proud to be an L2 coach, being part of the broadcast team, competing myself, coaching masters athletes. It's really fun to say that I can do all of it now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I bet the mindset and the work ethic and really just the athletic capabilities from swimming has transferred over into CrossFit some, and just stepping away from swimming, you found that love for the competitive aspect of it in CrossFit now. And now you're doing super well on it.
I am. Yeah. It's cool because I think, very much like people say, Matt Fraser had a really big leg up because he had a great Olympic lifting background and stuff like that. Yeah, we can't deny that. And I can't deny that my swimming background gave me a massive advantage in the cardiovascular system. Like, I love a good chipper. I love a great long monostructural event. Like, those are things that I'm very used to doing and my body's handled well. So for me, it was a lot about learning the barbell and learning all the movements and the mechanics. And especially with my coaches here, none of us had really ever worked with a seated athlete before. So it was a lot of learning for all of us about what's the best way to go about this, what are the proper mechanics. It was going down and getting our adaptive training certification so that we had some better exposure and some better experience, and just kind of trying to meet as many people as we could that could put us in the best place to succeed and understand how a seated clean works, how a seated press works, all those kind of things. And so it was a lot of learning, but I felt like every time I grabbed the barbell or anytime I tried to do something more, I was always able to learn it quickly, and the progress always excited me to go back the next day. And it just a domino effect. The consistency and the passion for it just grew and grew, and I just never wanted to stop. And here we are. So,
with that, what have you found to be the most challenging part of CrossFit?
Oh, meeting my own expectations. Honestly, I think I get lost in, that there's an expectation of myself that maybe I'm misinterpreting from other people, that like I have to win everything or I have to do really good at all the time. And so like I kind of put myself in a pressure situation more often than I should, when I should really be thinking about what is best for me. Like, how's the best way for me to attack this event, or how's the best way that I can approach this? Um, and just kind of being okay with not having to compare all the time. It's easy. Comparison is the thief of joy, right? And so I don't want to get to a place where I'm just constantly worried about what everybody else in my division is doing, or what other people are doing around me. And, that's kind of why I also don't love social media, because it's easy to see what other people are doing. And you're like, oh, I should be working on that too, and it's like, ugh. But no, I enjoy it until I realize I'm pushing myself a little too hard mentally. And I got to take a step back and realize, like, why did you join CrossFit? And as much as fun as the competitive side of it is, like, I'm 33 and I really want to hope I'm still walking when I'm 43. And I hope to have kids someday. And I hope that I can take care of my kids and I can get around the yard and I can get up and down stairs with them. And I know that CrossFit's the thing that's going to get me there. So I don't want ever to lose sight of why I joined CrossFit. I went for therapeutic reasons. And I tell myself that so many times, like, hey, this is fun. You don't need to win Murph yesterday. Like, you're here for therapy. This is just extra, right? So, it's just those things of just kind of staying within my realm of, what's reality and versus what am I trying to create as reality in my head, and those can be two things. So, that, and nobody likes burpees. So burpees.
I hate burpees too. Burpees are the worst. So you want to be healthy and you want to set an example for people, whether they're in the same boat as you or not. What do you hope to accomplish throughout your CrossFit journey?
Oh, man, I feel like that has changed so many times because I've taken on so many different roles within the gym. It was first just kind of being a rookie athlete and just trying to find a community to fit in with and make friends. And now it's become like, hey, I want to be, a face on the CrossFit Games every year on ESPN. And I want to be somebody that, sees me as a broadcast and an athlete and an L2 and, as a seminar staff member, right? All the things, right? Everything. It's so cool. I think the most holistic way to summarize what's happened for me, and how life has revolved around CrossFit is that, like, I just want to promote the healthy wellness that it provides. There is nothing in the CrossFit sphere that anybody is unable to do, right? I think the biggest thing that I love to say right now is that CrossFit's for everybody and it's for everybody. And there's an absolute opportunity for everybody to seize the moment and seize the opportunity in their life to promote their daily wellness, to promote their independence, to promote their functional fitness in a way that makes sense for their daily life. And if that's for you, that's somebody that wants to be more competitive, awesome. I'm a competitive person. I would love to help you get there. I'd love to coach you through that. If you're a geriatric individual who's just trying to make sure that they can keep up with their grandkids, awesome. Let's make sure we monitor everything that we do to make sure that that's the forefront every single time we do it. My life, again, over and over, has been revolving around people supporting me and showing me what I can do. And I found that again with CrossFit, and I found such a passion to give that back through CrossFit that I don't ever see myself stopping, and whether it's as a seminar member for the Adaptive Training Academy and teaching physical therapists, occupational therapists, athletes, coaches, how to work with adaptive athletes, like, that has been a super big blessing in my life lately, and just such a cool opportunity knowing that, I get to talk about something that I'm very familiar with, and I get to talk about people that are very passionate about the same idea. Like, that colliding passion is so fun for me. So, man, I don't know. That's such a great question. I just want to continue to promote CrossFit. I think it's a incredible opportunity. No matter how you want to see it, there's a potential that is greater than you may know, no matter which direction you want to take with it.
Yeah. There's obviously a lot of avenues that you are taking in different areas that you're involved in. And I really think hearing from you and just your heart and everything that you're doing, that you will have a positive impact on all those different people in all those different areas as well, whether it's just promoting the sport of CrossFit in general or just who you are as a person.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. So there has been a lot that you have done and accomplished in CrossFit. Even at Wadapalooza, I remember watching you some at Wadapalooza. What has been some of your favorite memories or experiences, competition-wise, I guess?
Yeah. Competition-wise, I mean, well, being from Wisconsin, you can't ever go wrong with Wadapalooza in Miami in January. It's like the best little summer vacation ever.
Yes.
But you know, I think the first time I went to Wadapalooza in 2019 was really eye-opening, just because it was so cool to see how well the adaptive competition was taken by the spectators and just like the party that was thrown. I mean, it was just so cool to see people so invested in what we were doing, because to that point, it was really just the CrossFit adaptive community that was kind of involved in the adaptive community. Not a lot of people knew. There wasn't a lot of publication. There wasn't a lot of, you know, opportunity for a lot of people to see what adaptive CrossFit looked like unless you had somebody at your gym. And so to kind of be able to be on the forefront out there in Wadapalooza was really neat. And then the same year was the first year that we actually I'd gone down on the Coliseum floor in Madison, and they had like a little adaptive expo in between the final heats of one of the events on Saturday, I believe. And so it was cool to say, like, oh my God, I'm on the games floor. And, you know, it was really neat. But just to think about like that moment, thinking like that was the coolest thing ever. And now to see where life is, it's like, wow, like it's kind of surreal to think about how far we've come.
Yeah.
Being a part of the broadcast team has been sensational. I mean, it's been so fun. I've really enjoyed that. Getting to know some of the elite athletes has been incredible. But even just the fact that, you know, the broadcast team has seen me as somebody that they can rely on as a trusted source to promote CrossFit and educate CrossFit and talk with athletes is really cool, because, you know, by looks, I wouldn't be somebody that you'd think would be the right person for an able-bodied competition to go and commentate on, being in a wheelchair. But, you know, it's I appreciate the opportunity, and I enjoy it so much that, you know, it's a really humbling and honored position for me to have. So
I can definitely see you doing really well doing that, though. Like, I wouldn't think any different.
Oh, you're too kind, but I'm very wordy. I'm still trying to build that pedigree for sure. So hopefully they keep giving me chances. Though. But yeah, it is. Yeah, I definitely agree.
Okay, so in all these competitions, you obviously use AIRWAAV.
I do,
and are a big fan of AIRWAAV. Mm-hmm. How did you even get introduced to us in general?
Yeah, ironically, I was just happened to walk through Vendor Village at the games about 3 years ago and found the AIRWAAV booth. I don't think it was hugely well known at that point. It was still, I think, relatively new. And it was like interesting to see like a mouth guard, and just, I can't remember who the spokesperson was at the table at the time, but they did it. They sold me. I mean, it was great. They told me everything that it could benefit and how it could work and how easy it was to adjust and mold to your jaw, at your jawline and everything. And then just the benefits seemed like, yeah, why not? You know, and it was a great opportunity. And I'm like, if it lasts for 9 months and it's costing me less than $40, like that's a great investment. Like, why not help myself? Because again, I was my second or third year of winning the games and I wanted to keep going. And I'm like, any advantage I can get, you know, any way to help myself, like, absolutely, I'm going to do it.
Yeah. Anything helps at all.
Right. And so, like, I almost wanted to wear it during the interview. Like, I will attest that, like, there are times that I forget I'm still wearing my AIRWAAV when I leave the gym. It's like, oh, whoops. You know, I'm so used to wearing it.
I do that too.
You know, it was phenomenal. I remember the first time I put it in, and just kind of, it felt very present in my mouth. I was like, whoa, okay, this is weird. And by a couple days in, it was like, it wasn't even a thing anymore. But I could tell, like, I'm a huge ski erg fan. I love the ski erg, and I could tell that I could hold a much faster pace at a much more controlled heart rate. And I was like, wow, I must be getting a way better circulation. You know, the cardiovascular system is definitely enjoying this opportunity just by slightly placing the tongue more upright, you know, giving that AIRWAAV underneath the tongue. Like, that was huge. And I really wear it for everything now. I mean, I don't see why I wouldn't. Like, why would I not give myself the advantage? And I appreciate it when I lift. I appreciate it when I'm doing a heavy Metcon. I appreciate it when I'm doing a long monostructural zone 2 workout, you know, whatever it may be. It's always been a huge benefit. And I can say now that, like, I don't notice when I wear it, but I notice when I don't wear it. You know, I wear it so much that I can tell, like, oh my gosh, where's my AIRWAAV? I need my AIRWAAV. And it's the first thing I pack every time I go somewhere for a new trip, whether it's coaching in a seminar, whether it's going to do a broadcast gig, whether it's going to just, you know, train somewhere else. It's always the first thing that comes with me. So
let's take a lift, for example. How are you able to tell a difference whenever you put it in versus not having it?
For me, I think the biggest thing is that I I actually kind of like almost use it like a mouth guard in like a bracing way. Like I can feel like as I'm trying to pull through a heavy clean or a snatch, like I kind of grind my back teeth on it a little bit, but it's that nice structure that helps me keep solidified through everything. Like I feel like if I'm bracing through the jawline, even the way down through the neck to the core, like everything's in one line and everything's really working together and coordinated. I have found I actually inadvertently forgot my AIRWAAV before an event at the games last year. Like I was just too hyped up. I think it was the first event of the games. And it was a rowing Randy workout. Like we had to row and I think we had a 400-meter row into 3 rounds of 25 snatches. And so I realized after the first set of snatches, I was like, I don't have my
AIRWAAV.
Where's my AIRWAAV? Like I'm dying. And I was confused because I was like, I was grinding my teeth, and then all of a sudden I was just like, this weight's like I'm getting out of breath from these way easier than I normally would be. And I was like, what the heck? And then all of a sudden I'm on that second round of row and I'm like tonguing my jaw and I'm like, I don't have my AIRWAAV in.
It's not working. Yeah.
I'm like my handler, Jason, my coach behind me. I'm like, dude, I forgot my AIRWAAV. He's like, you're an idiot. I'm like, okay, well, let's just keep going.
Can't do anything about it now.
Needless to say, we did not forget it and have not forgotten it since.
Yeah. It takes something like that to learn from not having it that you always need in.
But that was so shocking about it, right? Because I mean, even I thought like 25 snatches at a light weight, I should be able to cruise through these, feel steady. And I could tell that like just by not having my AIRWAAV, I was like, wow, my cardiovascular system got higher than it should have. And I was, feeling more of a muscle fatigue than I was expecting. And I really attribute that to how well the AIRWAAV kind of keeps things regulated when it's in and used in the right position. So, yeah.
I think too, just it being a mouthpiece, a lot of people are skeptical about it actually working. And I was too, whenever I first saw it, because I was like, there's no way a mouthpiece is really doing anything. And that just like sounds dumb. Yeah. And then obviously we had like a bunch of peer-reviewed research, but I still was skeptical even with that. And yeah, I guess after slowly implementing it into what I was doing now, I don't go without it. And I also feel like I'm missing something if I happen to forget it or something. And it almost makes me a little less confident without it in as well.
And I'll say at the same time too, though, even if I were to forget it, like it's one of those things that it's given me enough strength and cardiovascular endurance and the ability to withstand that I feel like I've gotten stronger in that regard too. So like, even if I don't have it, it may not feel as great, but I'm probably still performing better than I would have expected myself to. Right. So definitely, even without it, the effects are still there. So that's good.
So coming from swimming, obviously a mouthpiece is not normal for a swimmer.
Right. Yeah. Yep. Not very normal. Yeah.
Yeah. So how were you able to get used to it, and was it hard at all for you to get used to it?
No, I think it was kind of funny because swimming is so individualized for the most part, right? That like even just going to CrossFit, it kind of felt more like it wasn't, but like a contact sport, right? It was like more rugged, more aggressive. And so it's like, oh, I need a mouth guard to protect myself. Like this makes sense. And like, maybe I'll feel more secure in things. And so I was like, that's why I might as well try it. Again, any advantage I can have to help myself out, I might as well. And so when I first put it in, it was clunky. It was like a little uncomfortable just because I don't know if I had heated it up enough to make it mold the way I needed it to mold. And I'm like pushing it down on my teeth and like making sure it stays there. And then the whole time I was working out, I was just kind of like, your tongue is nonstop moving around it. Like, what is this? It's like, or if you ever had to grow up with braces, or like I had this bar put in the bottom line of my jaw when I was younger to help narrow or widen my lower jaw and stuff. And like, your tongue would fumble around that all the time. So it's the same kind of thing. It's like, you're just playing with it nonstop. And then all of a sudden after like 2 days, once it had really molded and settled into like the mold that you had built around your teeth, like then it was fine. And I didn't even think anything of it. And so, yeah, it's a couple of days of just a little discomfort, but like thinking about never having used it and thinking about where I'd be without it at this point is kind of like, whoa, I'll gladly go through a day or two of discomfort just to make sure that I'm where I am now. So
yeah, I will say the fitting process is very important because even some of mine, if I fit it even a little bit off, I don't like it as much. And there's like specific ones that I have like fit perfectly that I'll just wear those like over and over again.
Yeah. And that's the great part too, is that you can remold them as you need to and reshape them, which is the best part. So, you really get your investment worth, especially knowing how long they last and how tenured they can be. So
is there a certain type of workout, whether that's lifting or a monostructural piece that you like to use AIRWAAV on as opposed to another?
I'm definitely much more of a Metcon driven kind of guy. So like even a simple couplet or triplet, a couple rounds or something like that, a high intensity 10 to 12 minute workout. I definitely love it for those regards. I typically do some strength piece or portion before I do a Metcon, so I'm inadvertently already wearing it. But I definitely feel the benefits of having that mouth guard in or the AIRWAAV in when I'm in the middle of a Metcon versus just lifting. Not to say I don't get any benefit from it, but I can definitely tell that my breathing, which is much more labored because I'm pushing myself hard and I'm not static and not staying in one place, but I'm actually moving around. Like it benefits me significantly there compared to what I feel when I'm just lifting and standing in place. Right. So, but I do like it for those short intensity bursts, especially those, because I just know that like I can recover quicker. I can get my air back underneath me faster. I can reset quicker. And I'm just feeling more prepared for the next time I have to jump on, whether it's a heavy assault bike sprint or if it's a long, mile wheel repeat. It's like I can do any of those and know that I'm comfortable with my mouthpiece and my AIRWAAV in.
You shared a lot about how AIRWAAV has helped you and how you implement it into your routine. For someone who hasn't tried it, what would be your biggest reason or two as to why they should try it out, especially if they're a little bit skeptical about it?
Yeah. The biggest reason that I would say you could try an AIRWAAV would probably be just because, there's a level of potential that you can't tap maybe just on your own. I think there's been enough scientific proof and evidence to show that by simply raising the level of your tongue in your mouth can dramatically increase the cardiovascular input that you have. And the output and the work that it does, it becomes much more efficient and more streamlined. And it's, just giving it an honest attempt and giving it, 2 or 3 weeks of maybe even just doing a simple, 400-meter run of something like that, right? And just trying to do it once or twice a week for a couple of weeks and seeing how you can actually probably get a lot faster without having to try much harder, and just feeling that your body's working with you. I think there's no reason to not give yourself the best benefit that you can to succeed in the way that you want to. If you're already working out, if you're already putting yourself through the gym multiple times a week, why wouldn't you go that one extra length just to help yourself a little bit more? Right. Yeah. Because not only does that impact how well you do in the gym, but it impacts everything you do in your daily life. And I obviously don't wear my AIRWAAV during daily life unless I 2 hours later forget I'm still wearing my AIRWAAV. But, it's one of those things that it only helps bolster everything that you do. And it can help bolster your daily life. It can help you, even at night, just getting around after a long, busy day, it keeps you moving better, just knowing that your cardiovascular system is working with you, not overtired and over fatigued. It's trained, it's properly used, and it's just efficient. And so like, why wouldn't you, why not?
Yeah. I'm really glad that you are a big fan and user of AIRWAAV because I love seeing you, one, use it, but then also just your journey in general. And I really enjoyed hearing your story. I think it's super inspiring for really anyone listening at all. So I appreciate you setting the time aside today to talk with me and share some more about your story and just your AIRWAAV story too.
Yeah. Thanks, Sid. I appreciate it. Yeah, AIRWAAV's been a huge benefit. I'm glad I happened to stumble across them at the vendor village, and I'm proud to wear it every single day.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. One more question.
Yeah.
As far as broadcasting goes, when is your next little gig, I guess, for broadcasting?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'm crossing my fingers that, once semis are all done here, we're going to start putting the game staff together. So hopefully I'll be able to make the list on that one and be there. If not, maybe if it's trying to help out with the Adaptive CrossFit Games broadcast in some regard while I'm maybe not competing, I'd be more than happy to do that. And it's definitely something I'd love to do down the road too. When I find it's time to hang out the competitive belt and just enjoy CrossFit for the daily functional fitness of it all, I think I'd love to be on the broadcast for the adaptive divisions and the adaptive games and see where that can go. So
I think you do really well at it. So
yeah, it'd be a lot of fun. Thanks, Sid.
Well, I appreciate your time today. Thank you for talking. And I can't wait to see what you do soon, both competitive and maybe some broadcasting as well.
Thanks a lot. I appreciate it, Sid.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you later.
Yep. See ya.
Okay, bye. Well, that's all for today's episode of On the Air. Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Tom, for joining me. Be sure to stay tuned for our next episode, and don't forget to purchase your own AIRWAAV mouthpiece if you want to break your best and unlock your full athletic potential. If you've made it this far, be sure to use code OTA15 for 15% off your next purchase. Drop any questions that you have about AIRWAAV in the comments below, and see you next time.